Land. This is Phoenix Dingo, and I am going to talk about how Andrew Yang can help the homeless. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use myself as the case study because I have no shame. All right, so first things first, there's a lot of shame when it comes down to the homeless. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience and how I survived. So I was homeless about 2 or 3 times. Was it 2 or 3? It was 3 times. Okay. Each time it wasn't really, well, it was bad decisions. It was bad decisions in men. Basically we broke up and I got kicked out. The first time, well, I ended up, to make a long story short, my ex decided to move in the person that he had been seeing behind my back and made me sleep on the kitchen floor. And then it turned out that all the money that I had been giving for rent and stuff, he was spending on that person and wasn't paying rent. So we got evicted. And I ended up living underneath a telephone booth in front of Dick's in Syracuse, New York. So the way I handled it was I had my book bag. I lost everything else because obviously I couldn't carry it with me, but I had my book bag, and in my book bag I had baby powder, I had deodorant, I had soap, and a towel. And basically I slept underneath. I would go into the mall, I would hide in the bathroom, curled up on the seat so when people came in they couldn't see me. I would wait until after they cleaned the bathroom, and then I would go in. And that way, when they were done, they'd just come in, shut the lights off, and then I would wait a little while, and then I'd walk out into the mall, and I would go to the telephone booth, and I would sleep under there. Then when I woke up, because the old people like to walk around the mall for exercise, and they would always wake me up. I would hear them, and I'm like, okay, it's time to get up. So then I would walk up and down Erie Boulevard. I would go into a restaurant, go into the bathroom, wash myself down, and then I'd go out and apply for a job. And then 3 times a week, I would go to Labor Ready. I would work all day doing construction, and they paid at that point in time in 2020 dollars for like 8 hours. They paid a little bit more than that, but you have to pay the person who drives or whatever. So I would take that $20 and I would budget it. I go to McDonald's when their double cheeseburgers were $1. I get a double cheeseburger and a water, and that's what I would eat for the day. And pretty much I did that until I got a job, and then I started working, and I was able to make my way to getting into a house, basically, with a friend. So this happened to me about 3 times, but the difference between me and a lot of people is not everyone can do that. If you're in a wheelchair, obviously you can't do that. If you are mentally disabled, obviously you can't do that. Okay? So some of the obstacles for these people who lose their homes, or they get evicted because they don't have enough money and they can't shuffle the bills anymore, which is very hard. I can tell you right now, like, my electricity bill was $470 something this month, and they're voting to raise it in the next couple weeks. I don't know, but yeah, I just read that in the news today. I was like, great, because it's not high enough. So some of the obstacles that people face is, one, hygiene. When it's hot, especially like down here in Florida, it's hot. I just came in from outside and I am glistening. Okay, man, don't sweat, we glisten. Okay, so hygiene is a big one. I do remember one time I was on the bus, and this girl behind me decided she was going to just sit there and spray. Yes, I did smell. I just got finished working with Labor Ready all day doing construction, and yeah, I smelled. And she was sitting there just spraying me with Bath and Body. And it was so embarrassing because everyone was laughing. And she was just like, oh, and she just kept spraying me. I hope you're watching right now, because shame. Anyways, so hygiene is a problem. Obviously, you can't go in and apply for a job or go in for an interview when you smell like body odor. Okay? Clothes. If you're homeless, it's kind of hard to store clothes or keep your belongings. Usually people lose everything when that happens. Because, I mean, where are you going to put it all? Especially like in Tent City, where I showed you in a previous video. I don't even need to say anymore. Hopefully you saw it. If not, after this video, look it up. I'll try and link it in so you can see it. All right, transportation. Everyone might think, yeah, that's easy, but if you don't have any money, you can't get on the bus, and you definitely can't get an Uber. So that is an obstacle. The internet. Yeah, people might say, yeah, you can go to the library. However, how do you get to the library? If the library is on the other side of town, you don't have money for a bus, and the only place you can sleep is Tent City. That's kind of hard. That's an obstacle. And then, of course, mental health. You got to think about the vets. And this is another thing I discussed in that video. There are vets that are sleeping there. Like, a lot of people like to shame people that are homeless. And they're like, oh, they made bad decisions. They're on drugs, this, that, and the other. Let me clear this up. Though part of that might be true for some cases. You have people that have that are mentally disabled. I don't know what the PC term is. But you have people with mental issues right now that are walking the streets, okay? A lot of the people that are over there are vets, okay? They, and I know because I worked with them. I discussed that in another video too. I worked with them. We had a conference and they came in and we gave them a whole bunch of free stuff. I was giving out breakfast bars and bags and I was talking to them and, you know, like the struggle is real. The struggle is real. And they're like, we served our country. We went to war. We've done this. We've done that. We come back and everyone calls us heroes, but then they just leave us here. And that's one thing that irritates me. So many people like to use vets as an accessory. You can pull it out whenever you want to look flashy. And we care about the vets. Then you put it back in your bag and you leave it alone. I've been hearing that for years. So how is it that there's a tent city up the street with a whole bunch of vets, which maybe tomorrow I'll go show you because they panhandle up there. A bunch of them are in wheelchairs. It's so sad. And no one takes care of them. And I'm sorry if I seemed stern in that last video when I was driving through Tent City. But it just ticked me off so much because I'm sick of people throwing the vets around so casually. They get passionate, but yet here they are living in a tent or living in the woods. It's disgusting. All right. And then, of course, it's a problem for all of us, okay? If you're selfish, okay, I'm going to give you reason to care. This is a health issue for everybody. One, you have panhandlers, okay? And they come up to the car, women, and some men do not feel safe. They don't feel safe. Two, crime. Sometimes they get real desperate and they start robbing places. They were robbing houses of the copper pipes so they could sell them in North Carolina. That's where I used to live. And then there's drug use, which usually stems from depression. I can tell you that personally. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. And I was really, really depressed. And I went through all of that. Luckily, I didn't get addicted on anything. So I'm a lucky one. But I went through a really hard time. And that leads me to the next one, which is suicide. And I did try and commit suicide. And I got Baker acted. And they put me in a facility for like a week. And I couldn't get out. It was horrible. I needed to be there, though. They put me on medication and stuff, but it was crazy. Then there's a whole bunch of people that have to resort to prostitution. It's like a never-ending cycle. Another health risk for the community is urine and waste. Where are they going to go to the bathroom? I mean, at least at Tent City, they have like porta potties, but I remember a couple years ago in California, what was it called? Skid Row. They were all going to the bathroom out in the streets. And so because of that, disease started spreading around, and they had to scrub the streets with bleach. You can look it up, it's on the internet. So that's the last one, spread of disease, either from urinating or using the bathroom in the streets, or from having to prostitute and spreading disease. I know that there's a lot of people in the trans community who have to resort to prostitution because of discrimination. So these are just a few of the reasons why the homeless community is something that we should all pay attention to. Sorry, I forgot my note. That we need to pay attention to. And this is simply because not only does it affect all of us, but these people are suffering like it's not an easy life. So how Yang can help? Freedom dividend. I'm going to say it again. It would change these people's lives. How would it help? Okay, so one, you'd have money to get an ID. I know somebody who's homeless here who I give him money to go ahead and do my yard, and I give him clothes and I feed him. But I've been working with him and trying to work on helping him get to the next level. He needs an ID, but he needs money for that. And obviously right now I don't have that. Okay. Birth certificate. You need a birth certificate in order to get the ID, but you have to have your social security card to get the birth certificate. Are you catching on? And all of that costs money. So if you don't have money, how are you going to get it? And if you don't have that, you can't get the support from local services like, food stamps and stuff like that. And you also can't get a job. You need money. Transportation. You can get a bus. With $1,000, you could get around for a month. You could get clothes. You can get toiletries. The stuff that you need to be able to go to work. You could get a hotel. A cheap hotel. You could rent a room. Or you could get like a small house. There are some houses that are pretty cheap that you could get. So these are all little steps that you have to go through. And I've personally gone through to overcome being homeless. But you see, without being able to get money or having access to money, it's almost impossible. Luckily, when this happened, I was 20 and 23 and another age. I don't remember. But luckily, this happened when I was younger. So I could, and I had a car. So I could sleep in my car two of the times. I could sleep in my car. I was resourceful. I was young. I could work like really physical jobs. But if you can't do any of that stuff, it's hopeless. And right now, I would be in the same exact position if it wasn't for the fact that I had a partner who has a good job and takes care of me while I'm looking for another job, foots all the bills, and feeds me. If I didn't have that, I would be out over in Tent City. So yeah, I recognize how the freedom dividend is important. I recognize because if you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, guess what? If you don't have a job, that don't help. And if you don't have the means to get a job, that don't help. Freedom dividend. Think about it.